What's going on, guys? This is John from PDC European Nights. I'm here today on a Friday with Rafa. So what's up, man?
What's up, man? How's it going over there?
It's all right, all right. Had a dentist appointment today. How about yourself?
Good, man. It's been a productive morning. Uh, my brother passed his driver's exam today, so it's all good.
Yeah, yeah, man. That's always exciting. Uh, well, let's get it started, man. We'll start it off with Tuesday. Tuesday we had a couple games. We had Atalanta versus Real Madrid, and refresh my memory, Borussia Dortmund, right, versus Sevilla, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So, interesting game for Real Madrid. Karim Benzema gets in the score sheet. Sergio Ramos also in the score sheets. But I think the biggest topic of that was that Vinicius does beautiful plays, but yet he cannot finish. I don't know if you feel the same way as I do when it comes to that.
Uh, well, you're right. I mean, story of his life, man. He's a really, really good dribbler. Sometimes he just needs to look up a little bit more and take that shot. But as you can see in that play, he took it all the way down. Must have took like 3 or 4 players before ultimately shooting it wide or passing it wide. And otherwise, we'd be talking about Vinicius scoring a badass goal, but that's not the case.
Yeah. Um, what can you say, man? Real Madrid, I think me and your brother have been on IG speaking, and he asked me, I think when you guys came over for the Clásico Nacional, that if I felt Real Madrid could make it all the way. And I think this is their tournament. When it's Champions League, I think they turn it on. It's a different monster when those European nights fall in. Uh, it's Madrid, man. This is what they live for. They want to be the most successful club when it comes to the European stage.
I'll say this much. They'll go as far as they can score because Benzema right now he's on a hot streak, but there are spells where he goes kind of dry and he's not scoring as much.
Correct.
So like if he scores, he's on the score sheet. Madrid have a really good chance because they have a really good defense. The midfield, it's aging, but they're still doing very, very solid work. Like we talked about you and I off the camera, Cruz still a magical player. He's very good technically, but his legs are waning a little bit, but
Yeah.
getting goals from extra places like Asensio or Vinicius, it helps.
This is where I think that they need to start using Isco more to their advantage because he can play that camp position in a center midfielder where you have a 35-year-old Modric that he's up there. You have somebody like Casemiro that can, I don't want to say mold the Isco, but then you still have Valverde that you can mold them to be a box to box like you want to.
Mhm.
And you got to focus on the mid. You can't rely on these veterans all the time. So,
Yeah.
I think going forward, I think they got an uphill battle. We'll go over the next fixtures for the Champions League, but I want to correct us real quick. It wasn't Sevilla. That was last week. It was Man City versus Borussia Mo Monchen.
Mönchengladbach.
Yeah, yeah. It was with that De Bruyne golazo.
Uh, you're right. You're right. My bad.
So
I was ahead of myself. That was the day after, but yeah. For some reason, Borussia Mönchengladbach didn't step up to the challenge. I know they had a really good qualifying round, like the group stage, but I guess it shows how powerful City is because their possession and their intensity of winning the ball back quickly.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then yesterday's game, or actually Wednesdays, because we're recording on a Friday, with Byron versus Lazio. Right there, there's no surprise. We knew that Byron had it in the bag. They're just consistently that machine in Munich is always on. They're always fighting for something, especially when it comes to the European stage. But yesterday's game, there was something that told me that Chelsea was gonna pass. Right, I think that the 2-0 score was justifiable. I didn't see any fight in Atletico de Madrid. Cholo Simeone, I think he thought he can go score one and drop back, and that wasn't the case because Atletico de Madrid, right off the first couple minutes, they were already showing signs of threatening the score line against Chelsea, and that didn't happen. You know, Timo Werner, jugadorazo. He did a fabulous play to score the first goal, and then after that, it was all Chelsea. Especially when the red card came, which I think it was a soft one, just because that elbow no era para que le metiera tanta crema a los tacos, but el árbitro la compró.
Yeah, my brothers didn't really watch the La Liga so much. So when they asked me, who do you think is going to win between Chelsea and Atletico, I told them, you know what, Atletico isn't as strong as it shows. You know, they've been in first place for a minute, but in their league. But I think Chelsea's physicalness and their new and inspired belief right now with Tuchel, it's helping them out a lot. You know, a lot of the night Luis Suarez was battling against the three center backs in the back, so it was tough on him. You know,
Mhm.
they were definitely showing Luis Suarez that they were there and they were gonna pop up. They were gonna show up whenever he tried to receive the ball. So it was tough for Atletico. I think throughout. I think Chelsea is just a little bit stronger than them at the moment. But yeah, I think a lot of people are questioning Cholo Simeone's tactics right now and whether or not he's using players to their fullest advantage, like Joao Felix.
Yeah. I think on the Chelsea side, a German coach, but I thought he was French, and you corrected me during
Mhm.
the week. But it's also helping Timo to do well, right? They
Yeah.
speak the same language. There's no language barrier, so it makes him feel comfortable. And you can see, man, he his work rate yesterday, he was up and down the field. He showed signs of that uh Red Bulls Timo that we're used to, you know.
Yeah.
So with that, props to Chelsea. They qualified, and that's the ultimate goal, right? Frank Lampard didn't have him in a good spot, and this guy comes in and he pumps in fresh blood to the players. It's a different philosophy, so I think Chelsea's gonna go far. You know, I know you're a Man City fan, and I'll watch Manchester United, but you know you can't deny that Chelsea's they with the young players they could be a big threat.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think with Frank Lampard, I think they did pretty decent. I think during the winter they struggled to score a little bit during the Christmas break, or not so much break, but their little uh month or month and a half right there. I think they just couldn't score. I think Timo missed a couple of sitters, and that's why Frank Lampard ultimately got axed. But you know, they got a really good coach in Tuchel, and he changed the formation and he started doing a lot more rotations. And I don't think they've lost, and I think they've only given up like 2 or 3 goals over that span.
Yeah, man. Props to them. Moving on, we're going into Europa League. Europa League usually has like 300 games on a Thursday, but the one that we're covering is going to be Young Boys versus Ajax, where that Mexican warrior Edson Alvarez is staying consistent and being in that starting lineup. With all honesty, I think that after the rumors that Valencia wanted him
Hmm.
during the winter transfer market, that's when Ajax started seeing like, hey man, this guy could potentially want to leave, and if he leaves, we're not gonna get much for him because he's sitting in the bench. So
Yeah.
playing him, his value is growing in my eyes, and week in week out, he does solid performances.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's nothing spectacular. You look over these highlights, there's nothing over the top, but like you said, it's very consistent. He's playing defensive mid, he's playing center back with 2 or 3 in the back at times. He's really solid. So I can see why a team like Valencia is looking at him at the time, because he was maybe a cheaper option because he wasn't playing, like you said, but now he's coming on strong. And this Ajax team also moved on, and they're gonna face Roma, I believe.
Yeah. So it's going to be a really tough opponent when it comes to the Italians. They're very tactical, defensively, very disciplined. So we should have a battle of Americans because if I'm not mistaken, there's an American defender that plays there also, right?
Yeah, he's a right back. I forget his name. I don't think he's made his debut yet, but he's definitely on the squad.
Yeah. So with that, today was the drawings for the Champions League, and I'll read them in order real quick. PSG versus Bayern Munich. Who do you take?
Just because it's simply because they're a machine. You know, Bayern, they have so many movable parts on their team. So whatever Hansi Flick decides to put in the starting 11, I think Bayern has the upper hand here.
Rematch from the final, man. So
Yeah, I mean, I think PSG under Pochettino's a little bit more defensively sound,
yeah.
but I just don't think they have enough to take Bayern out in 2 legs.
Oof. I'm gonna go against you. I'll go PSG just because I'm a Pochettino fan. Next
I
game,
like Pochettino too, but like the only thing I will say, it depends on Neymar. I don't think he's made his recovery yet.
not yet.
Obviously, Mbappe, he's a phenom, but having Neymar back will help out a lot. But I just still over 2 legs, Bayern.
All right, we'll see. Next game, Chelsea versus Porto. Tecatito in the quarterfinal, representing the Mexican population on this side. I think Porto is very sound, very attacking, and I think Porto can come out with a surprise. But thinking it doesn't get you results, so right now I'm going with the hot streak that Chelsea's going. I'll take Chelsea.
Yeah, I think Chelsea, even though they're not, like you said, they're on a hot streak, they haven't received a lot of goals. I don't think they're up to their full potential yet. I think they could score a lot more goals and they find out how to play with Havertz and Ziyech a little bit better.
Mhm.
And Timo starts putting away a little bit more. I think Chelsea's got the upper hand too.
Yeah, so I think Richard and well, Richard's the Chelsea fan, right? I think
Yeah.
he'll be happy with that. Moving on, Liverpool versus the Real Madrid.
This
Uh,
is one for me that could go. I know you're a big Madrid fan, and I like Madrid too, but I think this one could go either way because
it,
Liverpool, in Champions League has been different than in the Premier League.
yeah, and we don't know what Madrid will show up. The one that's
Mhm.
making defensive errors, or the one that can't put 2, 3 touches before they lose the ball. So it can go either way. I won't go against my team. I'll never will. So I'll take Real Madrid. Though I was telling your brother, I was like, we need a healthy Madrid. If we have a
Mhm.
healthy Madrid, it's a whole different story, right? We need somebody to step up also. And I think that guy should be Isco. I'm a big fan of him. And I think that he needs to prove himself why they re signed him a few years back, because that guy was the biggest promise coming out of Spain, out of Malaga. And
Yep,
to me, he hasn't really showed it. He shows signs of life, but then, you know,
fades out.
yeah, he does. He does fade out. So that's a great way to put it. So, but I'll still take Real Madrid.
Given what you said that their defensive errors, it could happen from time to time, and you don't want to do them against a team like Liverpool because they're very quick up top with Salah and Mane. Uh, that's where I could see like if Liverpool gets a center back, maybe they could pull an upset. But this one's like coin flip, really. But just for the sake of being competitive with you, I'm gonna take Liverpool on this
Ooh, all right. Last one, Borussia Dortmund versus Manchester City in a battle that Jordan Sancho's old club, the
one. Yeah,
guy they coming out of that youth system and getting sold to Borussia. It's gonna be interesting, man. Coming home, but overall, I won't go against Pep. Pep is a mastermind. These are the games he lives for.
yeah.
He needs to. Well, let me ask you. I don't think he needs to, but do you think that to be a successful coach in Manchester City, he needs to win that champions? He's won everything except
Mm,
that one trophy.
yeah. I think he does. Just simply with all the money that has been pumped into this team is stacked. Like they have young players all across the board. They're all very pricey players, very talented. So there's no excuse for this team to not pass a team like Borussia Dortmund. Don't get me wrong, they have promising talents over there too, but they should be it should be a step over.
Yeah,
Just be,
it's
but then again, if the city shows up from last year that lost to Lyon in the quarterfinal, I believe,
mhm.
then yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Moving on to Europa League draw. Uh, Slavia Bracha versus
Mhm.
Arsenal.
Yeah. Um, that's a tough one because this Slavia Praha team they took out Rangers and Rangers was on a hot streak. I think that was their second loss of the whole entire season.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
Unfortunately, Rangers got some red cards in the game, but the Slavia Praha team, I think they pulled the upset.
yeah. I give it to Slavia. It took a team like that to beat Rangers. Rangers looked unstoppable. Obviously, the SPL is not as strong as some of the other leagues, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's the lower end of the, and not disrespecting, because that's one of my favorite leagues to watch, especially
Well,
because Rangers plays beautiful, but
mhm,
it's a two team league.
yeah. Most times it is. I think right now it's a little bit more competitive, but like everybody else in that league, it's not up to par of what they should be.
Mhm.
But like Rangers and Celtic, they're the top cream of the crop.
Yeah, and so on this one, I take Arsenal just because the affiliation to the Prem, that I watch it and all that, and my little cousin's a big Arsenal fan. I'll take Arsenal. I don't know who you're taking in this one.
I also take Arsenal simply because they've been pretty strong in Europe. In the Premier League is a different story, but they've come up and risen to the top and competed with the best teams in the Prem too. They haven't gotten blown out, but they haven't got the results that they've needed either.
All right, moving on. Villarreal versus Dinamo
Zagreb.
Zagreb. Yeah. Uh, also, I don't know much about Dinamo, so I'll be taking Villarreal. Villarreal has always like their let's play with the cantera and that young player mentality.
Yeah. I mean, they took out Dinamo Zagreb's rival right there in Dinamo Kiev. So I think Zagreb's gonna come and try to prove that they're the best Dinamo. I don't
Yeah,
know much about the Ukrainian league, but uh,
yeah.
for sure, I mean, they took out Tottenham. They came back and beat them in the
Oh,
second leg.
that's right. They
So
did.
yeah,
I saw a lot of, I know, Bleacher Report and 433. They were all posting pictures of Mourinho, cartoons of him not knowing how to close games. Right,
yeah,
going into that game with a 2-0 lead, to lose 3-0, it's pretty embarrassing, man. With that said, they got people like Son, Harry Kane, Gareth Bale. At one point was the most expensive player about 6-7 years ago, and
yeah.
for them not to be able to close out, it's pretty embarrassing.
I think for Tottenham, they missed a lot of opportunities. They let this Dinamo Zagreb team hang in there. I think
Mhm.
it was up until the second half where they scored the first goal. And yeah, the I forgot. I think it was Orsic though. He had a hat trick in the game, so he scored
Yeah.
two in second half and scored one in extra. And yeah,
Next game
what
is
a
gonna
comeback.
be, yeah, it was. Next game is gonna be a fight between the EPL and La Liga versus, whereas Manchester United versus Granada. Manchester United has been playing well. I think their midfield is spectacular ever since Bruno Fernandes came in, and that switched the dynamic of that team.
Yeah,
But Granada, I feel that they can come with the surprise, just for the simple fact that they're very technical. Midfield is solid. They don't spend big money because in La Liga the finances are a little lopsided, where it goes to the top three teams, which is Atletico, Barca, and Real. But I think Granada can pull this one off, and I hate to say it, but I will be rooting for Granada in this one.
oh man, I didn't think you were gonna say that, but Granada's a good team. They're doing what they can with what they got. Obviously, like you said, they're not a big team. They haven't got that money just yet. I think they're doing really well this season. They're sitting in eighth spot and they're doing really well in Europe. So,
Yeah.
but for me, I think Granada's overstepping a little bit. I think United is a really good team, especially with Paul Pogba back. He scored the winner last night or
Yeah.
yesterday for us, but last night in Europe.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I just think United's got more all around, and they can take them out in two.
Wow. From a City fan, I thought you were gonna go with the opposite, but
I mean,
I can
look,
respect that. I can respect
I,
that because
I respect game. Like I really like Bruno Fernandes. He's a really good player. Pogba, I don't have to say anything about him. You already know what you get from
yeah,
him. But if you have him and Bruno healthy, watch out.
yeah, that's true. Last game for this in the quarterfinals for the Europa League is Roma versus Ajax. Obviously, with the alliance to us when it comes to Edson Alvarez, I will be going for Ajax just because of him. I'm
Yeah,
more of a PSV supporters, but Edson Alvarez, man, what? You know, why can't it be us? Why can't we make it to the final? We have one Mexican in a final that we'll talk about a little bit later, but I think Ajax will take it just with that tiki taka style of football, and you know when you have and that's an Alvarez in defense and on, that guy's a beast, man.
Yeah, the best part about him is that you can move him around everywhere. Ajax is flying high in their league. They have a astonishing 59 goal difference in their league, as opposed to Roma, which is not doing as hot. I think they're sitting in sixth place in the Italian league. But uh, now for some reason, I think Roma could take this. You know, they're much more defensively sound, as much as the goal difference doesn't show. But I think, you know, the Italian league, like we've said over and over again, very tactical, very defensive. I think they could pull the upset here. And just for the sake of being competitive with you, I'll go with Roma.
Nice. With that being said, we're gonna move on real quick to the Jupiler Cup, the Belgium Cup, where Genk will be facing, I believe, Standard League in the final
Hmm.
for for the Belgium Cup. And you know, if they can pull this off, man, I'm gonna be ecstatic because there's only one other Mexican that has won that cup, and that's Memo Ochoa with Standard League.
Yeah.
And for them, I think that's gonna be is gonna be a good, how can I say it? They're going into playoffs, so that's gonna va a ser buen ánimo para llegar, right?
Yeah.
With that being said, uh Standard Leg and Jenk are about to start playing right now, and Gerardo Arteaga is getting the start. So props to them. Hopefully it goes the blue side.
Hey, it's good to see, man. You know, Arteaga, he made that move this season, I believe, at the beginning of the
Yeah.
year. So he's already, you know, starting in a cup final. That says a lot. You know, you can be doing however you want in the league. You can be in first place, in the middle of the pack, or at the end. But you know, cup finals are played different. And
Mm-hmm.
if they can rise to the occasion, and Arteaga has a good game, it'll look really good for him.
And moving on, I usually will cover this with Liga Mex podcast. Go follow them on Instagram. Uh, the under 23 CONCACAF pre-Olympic tournament,
Mhm.
where Mexico took on the Dominican Republic yesterday and beat them 4-1. Um, in my eyes, I got to see the second half just because I was still at work and all that. But in my eyes, Mexico should have won by way more. You had a
Yeah.
star like Cordoba shining, keeping that good racha going from the Clásico to this game, scoring a hat trick. You know, the second goal was a nice goal in my eyes. So I
Mhm.
don't know. What are your thoughts of it?
I think they did what they had to. They came out with the victory 4-1, Cordoba hat trick, like you said. I think they could have scored more, also, like you just mentioned. But I think they're just finding each other out. You know, they played with each other at train and the training camp that they've had over the year. But you know, it's a nice start. You know, now the next test comes against Costa Rica, which showed really good things against the US, just couldn't put the ball away. I think the US had a really good performance from the goalkeeper and
Mhm.
kept them in the game. But the US, you know, as talented as they are as well, I think they looked a little tired. Their legs are not underneath them. You know, a lot of them haven't played in a good while. But in Mexico's part, you know, it's a nice start.
Yeah, and you know what? Props to Jimmy Lozano, right?
Yeah.
That's the coach, Jimmy Lozano, because he kept that wingers um pairing with Antuna and Alexis Vega, something that he saw that works with Chivas
Hmm.
sometimes, not recently, but you know, props to him keeping them together, and you can see the talent that these guys have. Obviously, the Dominican Republic is more of a baseball country,
Yeah.
so we're not gonna see it because there was some rough fouls that I saw, and I'm like, man, this is the problem about of letting some of these players go to these little games. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
an official tournament, but you know, you get scared because these guys can potentially get hurt. But you know,
Yeah.
the lineup's good. Charlie look amazing, like in Monterrey. So I don't know your thoughts on that.
I think it'll be interesting to see where they put JJ Macias. He didn't play at all. He didn't take no part in this game. He was in the stands, but you know, they started Vega at the 9, But the thing about Vega, he was all over the place. He was on the right, he was on the left. He was pretty much destroying any game plan that
That we
Dominican
had.
Republic had on him. So that part's good to see that he could, que se puede votar, he can move left to right. But against a team like the US, you will eventually need a 9 that will stay there. And that's
And,
JJ.
and yeah, and you know what? In the second half, Canelo Angulo, man. I've been yelling his name for a good while, just like I know Danny has been doing with Henry Martin. Angulo just showed he's just getting better and better. I know we don't talk about him a lot coming to the old continent to play, but I can see him in a Dutch league or maybe even Belgium. Those are the most exciting leagues for me right now. That there's not a lot of money getting spent there, and these guys actually get to see a lot of playing time. So I think Canelo would be a great. It would be great if he makes the jump too.
It's nice to see. It's good that you pointed that out because he came in that's in the second half as a substitute, and you can see that the damage he can do on the wing. Like
Hmm.
we've seen him in Chivas play a lot the attacking mid, but on the left he was a lot more mobile and he was getting in there, getting some crosses in.
Yeah.
Something else notable that I like to bring up is Santi Munoz, 18, 19-year-old that came in. He made an impact right away. He came in
Hmm.
at the end. He got a PK for Mexico and he looked very lively. So that's another player to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking about 19-year-olds, man, would you have would you would have liked to see uh Efrain Alvarez in this team instead of La Selección Grande, or you're okay with what they're trying to do just to lock him in, give him a few seconds in the field? I don't
To
think you're
me,
gonna.
I would like to see him here, but I know why he wasn't chosen. It's because he hasn't played much with the Galaxy. They're
Mhm.
barely coming back, getting that rhythm. And the other thing is this group that Jimmy Lozano has, he's been working with them for a good minute. So to include him at this point would be to start working with him, you know, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And that's not something Jimmy Lozano I think would try to do right now, especially being limited to 20 players. I don't think he would call him up.
Oh, that's
And
that's a good point to point out that it is 20 players and you don't get the 23 that you would like. A fuerzas te hacen llevar tres porteros.
yeah,
So, you know,
the
what
the other thing is like another player you could call up would be Lalo Torres from Chivas that's been starting a long time already.
yeah,
But I think the reason is what I just mentioned. He didn't go because he hasn't been part of the process. And
yeah.
since you don't trust him as much, you just there's no point in calling him. You have a lot of good center midfielders.
Rafa, do you think this generation compared to other generations is a better one? Because a lot of these players I could see in some European leagues. Like, you know, you look at the lineup, and I know we follow Liga MX a lot, very closely, because obviously that's our primary podcast that we do. But there's and with that talent pool, man, it's like, damn, this could go to a World Cup. These guys are potentially going to be, not for 2026, the World Cup roster.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I agree with you. This team is very talented. Mexico has done a good job of, keeping them in the loop and working with them and making sure that the Liga MX teams are playing with young players. That's where you
Mhm.
see a lot of these players have played under that rule of being forced to play. And now they're, a lot of them are ballers in their teams. Um, they are talented. They're more talented than the team from 2012 that won the gold Olympic medal. But as far as being, I think that team had a lot more chemistry and a
Yeah,
lot more. I don't know how you could say it, like huevos. I guess this team hasn't been tested yet. They haven't even, until they face the U.S. or Costa Rica, we'll see what they're made out of. But as far as talent, a lot of talent.
and I believe that would be the next game for Mexico, right?
Yeah,
Against Costa Rica on Monday,
Sunday, I think.
the 21st. Today's the 19th. Oh yeah, Sunday. Ooh, I'm
Mhm.
off. Yeah, man, we'll see. We'll see. We'll get tested out, but pound for pound, we have Alexi Vega, we have Piojo Alvarado, we have J.J. Macias, which is the biggest promise coming out of Mexico. As
Mhm.
they say, I think there's other players like Charlie, but I think we're gonna do very, very well.
I think before you move on, another player we got to point out is the center back, Johan Vasquez. He did a really good job yesterday of breaking the lines, getting it to the wings from that center back spot, playing out of position too. He's a left-footed center back playing right center back. I know
Mhm.
Pumas he plays right center back, but preferably you'd like to have him on the left. And he did a really good job of spraying passes all over the field.
Yeah, man, and look, man, the talent pool that Mexico also has with goalies, that it's so hard for us to find, right? Yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, Malagon got the start over Jurado. Obviously, he's
Yeah.
been playing more with his respective team, but you know, he's another great talent pool that we can speak on a whole episode. Eric Aguirre and Alan Moso in the back with uh who was the Angulo, right? The Jesus
Jesus
Angulo
Angulo.
from Santos. You know,
Mm, he's playing at Atlas, but I think he belongs to Santos.
you also have this kid Beltran from Juarez.
Esquivel.
Oh, Esquivel. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it to me, I think we have the best talent right now coming out of it. Obviously, we don't export as much, but I think that's gonna come soon after this tournament and the Olympics, which is
Yeah.
it's nice because it's all in the same year.
Let's hope so, because let's hope there's a lot of scouts there, because a lot of the guys you mentioned, they have a lot of experience in the Liga MX already. Like
Mhm.
Aguirre, he's already pretty much a tested veteran. He's played all over the pitch for Pachuca, and Esquivel, I like him too. There's a lot. There's not a player that you can say, oh, he hasn't played much in the league. They've all
Right.
been tested.
The only one from Chivas, the only two that from Chivas that didn't play was Diva Sepulveda and JJ Macias. So that tells you something, that we are the core, Danny, of a selección. Because
Yeah.
Danny was like, "You guys are not the core," and but we're showing it here, and
Mhm.
and the changes. Alan Cervantes, Chivas. I don't know if he's on loan or it's a
From what
friendly
I know,
agreement.
he's on loan.
So this is a guy that potentially can come back to the midfield over here with us. But
Yeah.
that's a different topic for a different show. Last, just to wrap this up, man, real quick, Diego Lainez is getting the start with Real Betis right now. Game's going to be against Levante at 1 o'clock on being, I don't know if we can promote them on certain channels, right? Check your local
Yeah.
listings.
Depends on where you're hearing this from.
Yeah, but and Andres Guardado. So that's big for us because Hector Herrera is not playing in La Liga, and in my eyes, I think it's time for that guy to move on, go. There was rumors that he could have gone back to Porto, but I think that it's time for him to leave those airs and find some playing time, because the World Cup is next year, and we need him in tip top shape.
I'm sure teams will be interested, like you said, Porto, or maybe even a Spanish team within the league, La Liga. It will be interested in him. He's a quality player, even given at his age. He'll bring that experience to your team.
All right, man. But with that, I know we got La Liga and we got the Jupiler League, and I don't know if you already watched the Snyder's Cut on HBO.
No, not yet.
4 hours, but well worth it. All right. All right, guys. This is John from European Nights and Rafa. You guys have a good weekend.
See ya. Shout out to Julie.
Oh, the teeth.
The teeth.